Welcome to the Candidates Forum, sponsored by the Treasure Coast Community Impact Team and the St. Lucie County Tea Party. My name is Susan Meal, and I'll be the moderator today. And I'm hoping that we will offer you some important discussion and information because it will be your job to be an informed voter on November 8th. I'm here today with Jamie Fowler and Helen Lurie, the two candidates for the St. Lucie County Board of County Commissioners for District 4. Welcome, Ms. Fowler and Ms. Lurie.
Thank you for having us.
So here's the plan. We'll start by asking our candidates to give a 2-minute introduction of themselves. Then we'll ask each candidate a series of questions. They will hear the same question. They will alternate who hears it first. They will have 2 minutes to answer each question, and they will get the high sign in 30 seconds so that they know how much time is left. We will end by giving each candidate a minute to wrap up. Based on alphabetical order, Ms. Fowler, please start us with your 2-minute introduction.
Absolutely, thank you. So I am Jamie Lee Fowler, and I'm running for St. Lucie County Commission District 4 to be our voice. I am so passionate about this community that I have been blessed to call home for the past 23 years. Just like you, my family and I live, work, and play here. And in order to protect our unique quality of life, I want to put government back into our hands. I know there's many of you that feel the same way, frustrated, feeling as though you don't have a voice, and the same 24 people are making all of the decisions for us. Well, it's time we take our community back. I've been a small business manager for the past 23 years. During that time, I helped grow a small local business from 8 trucks and only operating within Fort Pierce. And I've brought that company to now be the largest privately owned tow company in South Florida. We have over 20 trucks, 30 employees, 3 locations across 2 counties, and we operate throughout the state of Florida. I did that by changing our business model from working not harder but smarter, getting contracts with the Florida Department of Transportation and Florida Turnpike Enterprise. Every day, I work to keep you safe. Between my business experience, civic engagement, and long history here in the community, I know that with your vote, I can be our voice, and I will fight for our values. I'm going to bring more fiscal conservatism, common sense, and accountability back to our local government. My promise to you is I will work hard every day to make sure you know what your county commission is doing that affects you and your family. Please remember to vote November 8th.
Thank you, and Ms. Lurie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Helen Lurie, and I am running for St. Lucie County Commission District 4. I'm running because I love St. Lucie County. This is the place that my family and I call home. As a mom and a wife of a local business owner, this is somewhere that District 4 means so much to us. I am a former federal officer, a former local professor, department chair of the Criminal Justice and Homeland Security Program. In saying that, I say I've been touching lives positively in this community for decades. My work here includes not only impacting in employment, but also volunteer service. My background is a background of service to our community. My goal is to create a transparent commission, working collaboratively with other commissioners and other local officials, business owners, and more importantly, the community, to figure out resolutions for our county. We have different things that are at stake. Our natural resources, the beauty of our county, are things that are important to you and important to me. Making sure we have responsible development in our community is something that is top on my list. So I'm asking for your support. On November 8th, you will have a chance to fill that seat for District 4, and I'm asking you to support me and vote for Helen Lurie on November 8th. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we'll begin the questions, and the first goes to Ms. Lurie. There's a lot happening in the world and in this county. Tell us what you think the main concerns are of your constituents and the people of the entire county. What areas of county governance do you plan to focus on in your first years as a commissioner?
Thank you for that question. So, as a candidate who's been talking to the community for months, I started campaigning in January. The common theme of the issues that the community are saying that are pressing to them is affordable housing. Available affordable housing in our community. The other thing of importance is infrastructure. So I think at the county level, we have seen the growth in the last couple of years. We know that we're projected to be at a population of about 600,000 people by 2050. So we should be focused on the direction that we're going in. We need to understand that with growth, it doesn't stand alone. It affects other things. So we have to prepare our infrastructure for the growth. We have to prepare to ensure that we have, that we're looking at our local law enforcement, our fire districts, our schools, because all of these things are intricately linked to one another. So as county commissioner, those are the things that I would like to address in my first year.
Thank you. And Ms. Fowler, what do you believe are your constituents' main concerns?
Absolutely. So they seem to be, depending upon where you live. If you're more in the southern part of the county, it does appear a lot of those concerns are related to growth and affordability, taxes. I had one resident point out that he understood 10 years ago why we had to pay so much in taxes, and it was communicated to him because we had a small population. And so he posed the question back to me that morning when I knocked his door. Why is he still paying so much in taxes now that we've seen such a population boom? So those are some of the concerns to the south. To the north, our more agricultural part of the county is definitely the sprawl and worrying about the western part of our county becoming a concrete jungle and losing our sense of identity and our heritage and our roots. So those are some things that I would like to work on in my first years, is working collaboratively with governmental agencies across the board here in our county and with our residents to come up with a growth that is suitable and is at the pace, at the comfort of the residents, making sure that we're doing it responsibly and in a manner that's quality over quantity.
Thank you. And the next question goes back to you, Ms. Fowler. Despite a troubling national economy, many counties in Florida are experiencing increases in tax revenues. What 2 or 3 areas of the county budget do you see are the most critical and in need of extra revenue funds?
Thank you for that. So I was actually looking at my tax bill when it came in a couple weeks ago. And one of the things I noticed is it looks as though we've cut some money from our transit and our children's services. So I would like to see why some of those service funds were cut. Transportation is hugely linked to growth, affordability, and people getting a leg up and moving up in both income, economics, education. So transportation is vital, as is the affordable housing. So that's an area, our children's services, our children, our youth is our future. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to give them a leg up and make sure that they are succeeding in life. As far as a third area, I'd like to see about the reduction in the overlapping of services. The Humane Society would be a good example of that. We have several across the county. We have one on Glades Cutoff, and we spent more money to purchase one on Midway Road. So better use of funds could have been done there by collaborating better with local governments.
Thank you. And Ms. Lurie, the same question. Increasing tax revenues means that one or two, and what 2 or 3 areas of the county budget do you see that might need some of those increases?
Okay, thank you for that. And talking about growth, I mentioned growth earlier. I think it's always important to keep that at the forefront of all decisions that we're making, because growth affects so many different areas. So in terms of security for our community, as we grow, we will see some things that are threatening the security of our area. So we have to ensure that our local law enforcement officers have what they need, the funding that they need to protect our community. I think that's important, and it can't get overlooked. A focus on more technology. We are a technological advancing world, and to make sure that when we're looking at infrastructure budgets, that we think about technologically how we can do things smarter, so that we are moving with the times. And additionally is our schools, figuring out what we can do to assist our school district, identifying gaps that exist there, and assisting them in the ways that the county can assist.
Okay, thank you. And the next question with Ms. Lurie to you. The good news, bad news parts of these questions. Anticipating hard financial times on the horizon, potentially, where in the county budget would you look to actually reduce expenses?
That is an interesting question. Okay, I know that we have a reserve and we have the general fund. I think it's great that we have made some fiscal decisions in the past that allows us to have the reserve that we have in place. And because of that, I don't think we need to we're going to be faced with having to make these hard cuts because of the reserves that we have in place. If we have to entertain something outside of the reserves, I think that's something that needs to be looked at kind of with a fine-tooth comb to identify how do we reduce funding without reducing services. That's important. But because we have this reserve in place, I think we're in a good situation.
Okay. And Ms. Fowler, that question to you, where might you find potentials in the budget to see reduced expenses?
Absolutely. So St. Lucie County right now is very healthy with the influx of federal funds that we've received. So as one thing that I've been very vocal about is consulting fees. I think we overutilize them. I think we can consult with local business owners, local leaders, versus spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire a firm from outside the county to tell us things that we really already know about ourselves. So I think that's one area that there's some room for reduction. We do have reserves set aside for a downward turn potentially over the next couple of years, though I think we have different factors, so not sure we're necessarily going to see such a downward turn, hopefully. So consulting fees, that's really the biggest area that at this point I've identified I would like to see a reduction in terms of cutting costs.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Fowler, the next question goes back to you. There's a lot of talk about the need to improve county infrastructures as more people move here and the existing systems age. What will be your infrastructure priorities when you're on the county commission, if any? And how far in the future do you see a need for planning by the county?
Thank you. So I was actually watching the TC editorial with Miss Townsend and Henry Duhart from 2 years ago. And she had made mention in that editorial that they were actually currently planning for year 2045, which kind of blew my mind. As far as county government and our aging infrastructure, I really would like to see a consolidation of services. I would like to see our SOE's office, our clerk of court, tax collector, DMV, all of those services should sort of be in one location instead of paying the taxpayers having to pay utility services across the board. Maintenance, upkeep, everything is, 2 and 3, 4 times fold. So if we put everyone into one location, it's also easier for the residents to get things done if they only have one location to go to.
And Ms. Lurie, that question to you. Infrastructure, what priorities do you see as a county commissioner?
So with the infrastructure, we have some infrastructure funding. I think our focus should be on our existing roads and repairing those and existing bridges. But additionally, I think the focus should also be on finding a way to make our county less vehicle dependent, and that would include expanding our mass transit, creating more bike lanes, walking paths. I think that should be the focus because we have individuals that don't desire to drive. And having a mass transit system that works and stops at key places such as grocery stores, doctors' offices would help in identifying how to make this infrastructure project work for our county.
Okay. And this goes back to you again.
Mm-hmm.
What would your we've already done that, sorry. In a related question to the infrastructure one, many counties in the region are struggling with a shortage of affordable housing, as we've mentioned, or as some call it, workforce housing. Do you see a role for the county commission in increasing the supply? And if so, what would you suggest the commission do? That's to you.
Yes. As I mentioned earlier in my question, that is of concern. I'm a realtor, and I see this issue facing our community on a daily basis. How do we address this? I think, number one, we have to establish relationships, public and private relationships. We have to we have to establish relationships with developers and incentivize developers in a way for them to come here and build affordable housing projects. However, I think it's important that whoever we're partnering with, that they have a commitment to our community. It's not just coming in and building cheap homes and going about their business, but a true commitment to our community. Should the county commission be involved? Yes. In one, establishing funds that are available from the state or the federal government, and two, establishing those partnerships to make sure that we can get these homes created for those that desperately need it in our community.
Okay, Ms. Fowler, that was infrastructure.
Could you repeat the question in its entirety?
Sure.
My apologies.
A lot of counties are struggling. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not infrastructure. A lot of counties are struggling with affordable, or as we say, workforce housing. Do you see a role for the county commission in increasing the supply? And if so, what would you suggest that the commission do?
Thank you. So it is absolutely our responsibility, literally by law, Chapter 163 sets it. We have to, the Board of County Commissioners has to be able to provide affordable housing to its residents. And why wouldn't we want to? That's almost the basic backbone of economic success is affordable housing. We can have all the great jobs we want to here, but if people can't afford to live here, then those jobs are going to remain empty. Those businesses are going to leave. So I want to see us strengthen our partnerships with Habitat for Humanity, whom we already do work with. I'd like to see more inclusionary zoning happen. I would like to see more housing for the missing middle. What generally happens, we are booming. We have people moving here that have more money, even though our costs are on the rise, people coming from up north or down south, this is still relatively inexpensive for them. So what's happening is our middle class is getting squeezed out. And so we need to be able to offer more reasonable, affordable housing opportunities for that middle class demographic.
Okay, thank you. I have some questions that should not require a lengthy answer. Maybe a yes or no or a couple of thoughts. So I will start those. Do you believe the county commission should play a role in the following? And the first is expanding the urban services boundaries. And we'll go to Ms. Fowler.
So, sorry to pause. It's a very good question that really gets you thinking. And, growth, transportation, affordable housing, it's kind of like an onion. Everything's interconnected, and there's so many layers. When we expand our urban service boundary, we are essentially pushing people further away from amenities. So if we are wanting to look for more mobility, and ease of getting around without utilizing vehicles, then we do want to look at potentially looking at the densities within the cities, the locations, instead of doing a sprawl, which obviously impacts our environment more. Let's keep people close to amenities so that they can walk or travel without using vehicles.
Super, thanks. And Ms. Lurie, that same question, which was expanding urban services boundaries.
Yes.
You think we should?
Yes.
Okay, great. That was quick and easy.
Sorry.
Okay, and the county commission should play a role in the following, and this one again will be to you. Mm-hmm. Lengthening the airport runway and expanding the industrial park.
Yes.
Okay, and to you, Ms. Fowler?
Yes.
Okay. Here's an interesting one, and this goes to Ms. Fowler, I believe, this time. Addressing a shortage of physicians and medical experts. Does the county have a role in that?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Lurie, your thoughts?
I would have to say yes.
Okay. And then I think we touched on this, or you all did briefly, but does the county have a role in expanding mass transportation? And Ms. Lurie, that's for you first.
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. One last question. We've talked a lot about, and you've talked a lot about, affordable housing and what the county can do. One of the aspects of being able to afford a home is being able to afford the taxes that are required when you own that home. Now, besides the standard county budget, there are other elements that are covered in those taxes, including special taxing authorities where there's millage rates applied. The children's services component of the county is that way. The sheriff's office budget is that way, and a couple of other budgets within the county. What do you think the role of the county is in trying to make those taxes as low as possible? Ms. Fowler.
I think we always have a duty to make sure that we're not overspending and we're using our taxpayer dollars wisely. I know constitutional offices, if they have any money left over in their budget at the end of the year, it goes back to the county commissioners. So similarly, I would like to see if that would be possible across the special taxing units as well.
And Ms. Lurie, do you see an area where taxes can be reduced?
I think as the county commissioner, we have an obligation to those that we serve to ensure that we're doing everything to reduce taxes. Because that's one of the concerns that I hear from the residents here is, why are my taxes so high? There are certain things that the county commissioners, are responsible for when we're looking at the millage. But working collaboratively with every entity throughout the county is one way of addressing this. To talk to the different governments, bodies of government, and identifying, is there something that we can do to reduce the cost for the taxpayers? I don't think this is done in isolation. It can't be done in isolation. I think it needs to be a collaborative effort across the board, and then we may get to this reduction that many of our residents are asking for.
Okay. Did you answer that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. That's the hardest part.
I know it.
One quick 1-minute answer. What historical or what experience, education, and community of activities do you bring to this commission job? Since you've not been a commissioner before, what do you think in your background applies best to what you're going to be doing, Ms. Lurie?
You want one thing? So
No, not just one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I am a realtor. So the negotiation skills that I have from my work as a realtor, I think, is very important. There's a lot of things throughout the county that you need some negotiating skills in order to get the best for our residents. Being that I have a law enforcement background, security to our community is important. I have an understanding of criminal justice, and being an educator, just all around, being able to connect with people from all walks of life is something that I think is necessary as a leader of our community.
Excellent. Okay, and Ms. Fowler, experience and education, and what do you bring to that job?
Absolutely. So I am very heavy in procurement, contract, and project management. I oversee 7 different contracts with the state of Florida. Again, Florida Turnpike Enterprise and Florida Department of Transportation. I have a heavy background in the transportation, construction, and insurance industry. I'm actually also a licensed insurance adjuster. So I also look at things through the lens of liability, also being a business manager. And I think those things are crucial. A lot of what we do is contracts, negotiations, and even though it's not a for sale contract, any kind of contract that you bid has negotiations and terms in it. And I think also my emergency management background, which is folded into our contracts, definitely gives me a leg up.
Great, thank you. Okay, I want to thank both of you for giving your time today to participate, and also for taking that major step to decide to run for public office. We know it's not an easy one. So to wrap up the forum, one person has 1 minute, and we start with Ms. Fowler to wrap it up.
Absolutely. So again, I have been in this community for the past 23 years full-time, but have gone to school here on and off since I was a child. When I didn't live here, I spent my summers down here. So St. Lucie County has always had a place in my heart. Outside of the towing business, I also manage a 40,000-acre cattle lease, so I understand agricultural. We have Tri-County Waste and Recycling, which is demolition, construction. I understand lien work. I bring a wide range of a knowledge base to the table, and I look forward to utilizing that for the residents of St. Lucie County.
Thank you. And Ms. Lurie.
Thank you. Again, I'm asking for your vote come November 8th, As a mom, as a wife of a local business owner, as a daughter of retired parents reside right here in St. Lucie County, I understand what my friends and my neighbors are experiencing. I come to you as an individual that is not new to government. I was a federal officer, so I have a law enforcement background. I was a educator, and I have so many years of public service to our community. I have spent my life serving our community. And as your county commissioner, I pledge to do just the same, serve our community and do what's best for the residents of St. Lucie County. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank everyone for watching us today, and to the members of the Treasure Coast Community Impact Team and the St. Lucie County Tea Party for putting it all together. And to all of you, be sure and vote November 8th. Thank you.